A new study shows LGBTQ plus migration to specific states is underway, and they will surprise you. A new study out of the University of California, Riverside shows that while straight people will frequently move to areas where values concerning sexual identity match their own, LGBT individuals don't always do so. The study, published by the Journal of Experimental Social Psychology, composed of 2 parts. Part 1 surveyed 1.3 million U.S. residents about reasons they have moved. The second part showed a series of Google Street View locations of areas of gay cultural interest. Participants were asked about their desire to move to the place shown in each picture, whether they would feel a sense of belonging there, and how likely they thought gay or straight people would be to spend time there. While LGBT participants more often said they wished to move to places with perceived gay culture, the migration data showed a different result in reality. First author Emily Esposito said, quote, "One possible interpretation of these findings is that it is easier to leave a bad place than it is to end up in a good place. LGBT people might hypothetically prefer to live in a gay-friendly place, but real-world constraints, such as employment or affordable housing, might limit their choices," end quote.
And I think the key to this is what Esposito said in the story, quote, "Real-world constraints, such as employment or affordable housing, those are going to limit people's possibilities for moving." I think that's an important part of the story.
So getting out of the Alabama fire into the Mississippi frying pan is what we're talking about here.
You know, I think a lot of us were sort of surprised when we first saw this, but the more I thought about it, it really isn't. Florida is an anomaly, and Wilton, Broward County shapes our experience, and we're all anecdotal. Because people come to Florida, you know, gay people come to Florida because you can be gay. Crotchety old Republicans come to Florida because you can be
rich.
Old.
Crotchety.
Yeah, rich,
Both of the
rich old and crotchety. So I think that clouds our perspective. Only about 1 in 3 Floridians were actually born here.
That's interesting.
You know, I wish I wasn't.
You wish you weren't
Sometimes.
here? Yeah.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
smidge. Because, you know, you look around and you see all of the older people who moved from other places. They come here to retire because, you know, it's a nice, beautiful, beachy getaway until they realize there's a bunch of queer kids hanging out. Anyway.
Oh, I hear a story.
You know, there's a lot been said about comparing and contrasting the 4 major LGBT states in the country: New York, Florida, Texas, and California. Texas is an anomaly because of what goes on in Texas. It's a gigantic LGBTQ community, but still a very oppressive place in general. New York is a very progressive state, both in terms of New York City, its major metropolitan areas. Florida is 2 states. It's South Florida and the rest of Florida.
Right.
And then California is probably the most accepting in America for LGBT. And it is across the board. And it's one of the reasons people do not realize, to every person that is LGBT in Texas or LGBT in Florida, there is 2 to 3 LGBT in California. And it's because they've been migrating to California for 40 years because it's the most accepting. But that's not the norm. Most of the norm is you're getting out of someplace that is terrible into someplace that's a little
Slightly
less
better.
terrible.
Not that bad.
Right.
Exactly.
Which also explains why so many of these places, one, they're coastal, so melting pots.
Yeah.
And 2, why they're so severely overpopulated.
Yeah.
Because they're just overflowing with queer people, which, I mean,
That's right.
go them.
Problem.
Yeah. LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ